there, this is Emily, tech editor at Fiat Fiber Arts, and I'm going to show you how I get to the middle of a skein of yarn. A lot of us like to stitch with a middle pull from these skeins of yarn if we're not going to be using a yarn bowl or something else. And so the question is, how do I find that middle bit of the yarn when I get it? A lot of times you can see that the yarn companies stick in one end into one end of the yarn, and I have that here on the woolies. I don't have any brand loyalty here just yet. So you can pull that out, but then you'd be working from the outside, and if that's going to work for you, fantastic. I often tuck that part into the label if it's still on the ball or just right there on it, and then I will go back to one of the ends, and here I'm going to go to the opposite end, and I am going to reach in and dig, and lucky you if you actually find the exact end of the strand, but usually I don't. Look at that, I did. Okay, so there, I could just start going from the middle, but you can't really see it. You can kind of see here, it's tugging a little tightly to the middle, so I would still probably pull out quite a bit of it before I started really stitching, because I don't like to have that tight tension on my ball. So I would pull quite a bit more until it's freely flowing from the middle of the ball. And this one, actually doesn't want to do my trick, but there it goes. So yay, 1 out of 4 that I've done so far, it actually did that. But let's try our acrylic. So this is just a big twist from Joann's, and I am going to reach in and try to find the middle. So here's the inside, and here I go, but I'm not probably going to get it. I'm just going to pinch something on the inside there, and I start to get this, and then I start to get this. And what are we going to do there? Well, I'm just going to pull it all out. I'm going to pull it out until I have a single strand coming from my skein, and then I'm going to set that down. That's freely coming. That's flowing the way I would want it to be when I'm stitching. And so now I'm going to take this piece and this end that's coming off my little blobby bit that pooped out, and I'm going to start unraveling it from the outside. And as I do that, I'm just laying it on top of itself on a separate pile, and I'm going to keep pulling and pulling and unraveling this inside bit until I'm all the way back at the middle. So I'm going to go I'm going to go faster and faster here. It's good to just hold your hand straight up in the air and then pull your pull hand to the side, but when it's up in the air, you let that blob just fly and unravel, and then you're just dropping the rest of your yarn on top of itself. So you have a nice loose pile from which you're going to work, and you have this little dancing bit flopping around over here. You can start to see there's my inside that I wanted to find. You can start to pull from there, but you really want to be pulling from the outside. So I'm undoing it from the outside. I don't want to get any tangles. If it starts to twist, you'll have to pull from both sides. But here I go. It's just undoing. This usually only takes about a minute in terms of your whole stitching. That is not very long. And there I am. Got the blob undone, and here's my end. Now when I go through this, I'm just going to slide this over my little discard pile. When I go through this pile, as I do that, I'm going to be stitching from the top. So I'm just stitching right up from that pile, and I'm not going to have any tangles, and it's going to be very loose. So my tension is going to be really nice and even as I'm stitching. I'm not going to have to be yanking on the yarn coming out of the middle of my skein. And then when I get down with all this, when I stitch up all this pile and get back to my skein, it's going to be loosely flowing out of the skein. So again, no tension affecting how I'm stitching. So there it is. We got a miracle pull from the middle for the super bulky, and then my example there on that one. And here's some little some thin fingering weight knit picks yarn. And again, there's that outer piece that they stuffed into the inside. Now I'm going to stuff that under the label and then go back to try to find a middle bit. And with this one, since it's so much smaller, I really want to try to get it from right in the middle. Oh, there's my plop. So there you go. There's my wad from the middle. I don't have pleasant names for these. But then I just start undoing it from the outside again. So here I am, just unwinding that and dropping it in a nice little loose pile. When you're getting ready to stitch, you're probably going to be there long enough to at least stitch up this pile and get it back to the skein. So think about that wherever you're going to be getting started. You don't want to do that and then have to get up and have a pet come get it, or a 3-year-old or a 20-month-old like I have in the house. So, ooh, look at that. We had a little thing. Hold that right out. And just keep going. Go, 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 go. All the way to the end. We found the inside. And kind of hold on to that. And keep pulling from the outside of your little clump that came out. And go, 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 go. And there you are. Back to the inside. And when I stitch up this pile, again, coming from the top, it's just going to freely flow out. And then when I get to my little ball, it's going to be freely flowing out from the middle. I don't have to tug really hard, and my tension won't be affected.